We've done this enough times. It's the same thing every single transaction. You just have to systemize what the transactions look like from start to finish, from the time you meet the person till the time they're done and beyond, and then communicate.
Thank you for coming on the podcast. Good to connect with you. How's everything going?
It's going great. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. In Colorado, it's Mesa County, Colorado. Now, where exactly is that?
It's a way far western Colorado, almost to the Utah border. So we're the deserty part of Colorado, not the big pine trees and mountains. Mountains are close, but we're in a desert.
Look, I've done a little research. Our team's done a little research. Love your story. So you were in the medical field before, and you talk a lot. I think you have your own book, and you talk a lot about like getting rid of the traditional high pressure sales. And there's different ways to sell where you're creating trust. You have one of the top Remax teams in the country and the number one in Mesa County. Give me a little background. How did you go from medical and then get into real estate? Why don't you give the audience a little background?
Well, my little brother is actually in real estate too. He was in pharmaceutical sales before he got into real estate, was in it about a year and a half, was doing a booming business, but he realized he didn't know anything about business. He knew about sales. So he just called me on a whim, thinking I would never do it in a million years, and said, "Hey, I think you should sell your businesses," which were outpatient orthopedic physical therapy clinics. And he said, "You should just sell those and come work with me. It'd be so much fun." So voila, there it was. I'd kind of built the business until all the stuff I'd gotten into it for, I wasn't doing anymore. I was doing all the administration and not as much as the working with people. So it was
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm not, and we'll talk about this later, I'm sure. I felt a little scared about it because I'm not the traditional or stereotypical sales personality. So I was very anxious about it, but it has worked out great.
You said you're not a traditional salesperson. Tell us about what your approach was and what you found to work.
The stereotypical salesperson, I mean, to me, that's more like my brother. He had the world-class pharmaceutical sales. That's the best sales training there is anywhere, is in the pharmaceuticals. So he's just kind of geared more of the stereotypical sales. And I see myself as a helper person. We still kind of bicker about it because he'll be like, "You're a salesperson." I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm a helper person." And that is really it. What I was afraid of was that I was going to have to be uncomfortable and use sales techniques that were not comfortable for my personality. What I realized was all of my skills that I had built in the medical field with establishing rapport, being very systematic and structured, making a plan, communication skills, all those things that was what it took to be successful. I didn't need to change my personality.
And on that note, so when you think about those different things, whether I think I researched like the transparency, authenticity, different ways to connect with clients, creating trust, like how do you do that? What have you done? Like when you have a new client, what do you do to create those things?
What I see in agents that are kind of more stereotypical sales type, that, they're out for the kill. They want the kill. They want to take it home and eat it. I think it's been getting not being on my own agenda and being on their agenda. Once I get on my client's agenda and they are clear that I'm all about just figuring them out. What is it going to be? How do I get the spouses on the same page? How do I put the plan together that's going to get them from where they are right now to where they want to be? And just being about them, not about making the kill. That is communicated, overtly and covertly in so many ways that very quickly they trust you and realize you're not out for yourself. It's not going to make or break me to make this sale this afternoon. And so I think that's a big part of it, is taking the time to talk to them and really genuinely, truly being about them, not about making your sale.
So once you made that move, where did you start? Where did you begin? Did you end up selling on your own for a while? And then how long was it until you formed your own team?
No, so I joined my brother and I was
Okay.
originally his assistant because I had to sell my business, transition people into it, all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So he had no systems or anything because he was the salesman. He
Yeah.
wasn't the systems guy. I kind of created his systems while I was his assistant for, I don't know, 9 months or something, until I got my license and we hired an assistant.
What kind of real estate typically are you seeing, in your county that you're in? Like, what's the average price point of the homes?
Oh, we're somewhere around 400,000. I mean, our community size is about 150,000 with the entire kind of catchment area, little suburbs and whatever. So it's not very big, and the average home price is around 400,000.
To give the audience, example, I mean, you're doing, typically around 150 million a year. So I mean, it's a lot of transactions. It's impressive. How many
Yeah.
agents do you have on your team?
We have 5. So
Wow, it's a lot of work.
we do that with 5 agents, and we have 3 assistants. So that's what our team does. So it's very high volume for a small market, and it's
That's
very effective.
that's a lot of work. That's great.
It's a lot of work.
Nice. What do you guys do? Is most of your business now, is it coming from referrals? And if it is, or if it isn't, like what else do you do from a marketing perspective to get seen and noticed?
We have never done anything like buy Zillow leads or zip codes or any of that kind of stuff. One of the beautiful things about a market our size, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. I mean, it's limited, but a beautiful thing is that you can saturate it with your marketing, more readily than when you're in a big metropolitan area. So we have just been really super consistent through the years with things like my brother has an Ask Dave column in the newspaper, and
Mhm.
about all the questions the public, sends in about, I'm thinking about doing this or that. Should I include the refrigerator or not? It's one of those like a Dear Abby of real estate
Sure.
or
I
whatever.
like that.
We just do a lot of phone trees and things from the signs instead of a lot of agents do the QR codes or whatever where they get people right into the MLS or the house stuff. We don't use any of that because we kind of feel like if we can't talk to them, we can't sell them. They're going to scan that QR code and we'll never know who they were or why they were interested in the house or whatever. So we do a lot of things that are probably not what a lot of other agents do, but we always run radio ads, a little bit of newspaper. I mean, probably typical stuff.
Cool. So you've created this powerhouse in Mesa County, but it sounds like you're kind of taking this to another level of educating others, and you've created called a program, expectation selling. Tell us about that and how you're helping other agents with that.
We had an agent who worked with us. It was his first real estate job, very young, worked with us. We kind of did our training with him. He went up and went back into real estate in Boise, 6 or 7 years after working on our team. So he came back to us actually a couple of years ago and said, now I have done real estate in other places. I've seen how all these other places do it, and you guys do it differently than anybody else. We need to figure out how to teach this to other agents. So it was really him. He was the catalyst because my brother and I would have just kept going. We know we do things different, but we never really thought about how do we teach other people how to do it. So he's actually a partner in this. His name is Mason. He's 30. But the beautiful thing about this expectations selling, the system that we've kind of put together the training course for, is that it really does work across all age groups, whatever your goal is. It's not about more transactions, more, because Mason is a guy who he really wants to work 15 or 20 hours a week. He just wants to do as much as he can in that time so he can spend the rest of his time on his hobbies and with his kids and with his wife. Whereas I'm old school. I get up and go to work and, that's how I function. So it's a beautiful thing because it is about teaching agents to be more efficient, more effective so they can either scale up, scale down, they can have a better work-life balance based on whatever their personal priorities are.
It's interesting. I was just at a lunch and we were talking about this, a few years back. Back in the day, it was 4 hour work week, right? And so, yeah, Tim Ferriss's 4 hour work week. And, people really bought into this. And we actually were talking about this person who really bought into a 4 hour work week and stopped working on their business. And then their business failed. I was in a business myself where I had a partner who really took it to truth, and like the business suffered a lot and we ended up breaking up. Point is that, like, I think where you're going to, and I like how you position that, it's a work-life balance based on each individual, right? And you
Right.
can kind of determine what that is. Some people might want to work 30, some people might want to work
Yes.
15, some people, and you can scale up and down based on that. A lot
Right.
of it based on efficiencies, right? And we see that all the time.
Yes, it's all about being super efficient with a key component to that. The whole expectation part is it's about setting expectations with your clients and establishing basically contracts for how you're going to operate and how the transaction is going to work is what creates the efficiency to let you do a whole lot more with a whole lot less.
Yeah.
And then either you can keep doing more or you can say, oh no, I make enough money in 15 or 20 hours a week like Mason does that I'm happy. This is the lifestyle I want.
So, I hear coaching a lot. I hear all the times. We work with a lot of the top agents in the country. A lot of them are doing coaching, but your program sounds a little bit different maybe than what I've kind of heard in terms of how coaching is. Like, how do you think of coaching and kind of your program? And if it's different than the coaching out there, why is it different?
Well, I do feel like it is different. And actually, this expectation selling, we're just launching it. The last 2 months, we're just launching this. A lot of the coaching that we have seen and done, it's like you kind of buy into it. Our goal is more to is to teach an agent how to be better forever all by themselves. So if they get done with the coaching or the program that we have, they don't need to continue anymore. We will have given them all the tools that they need to have.
I think you'd mentioned too, a lot of times it's kind of proactive with,
Yes.
this. Tell me more about that.
If you think about transactions and you've been doing like real estate or really anything that's competitive, whether it's title work or whatever, you encounter the same things every single time. Like agents, it's like, okay, yeah, the players may be different, cast of characters are different, but I know what the inspection is going to be. I know what the options are on the appraisals. What happens to agents is they buy into that stereotypical part of this business is just learning to put out fires. That's what it is. It's just the nature of this business. You're on the phone constantly 24/7. You're answering texts. You're jumping out of your seat to go show houses or do a listing appointment. All that stuff is reactive stuff. And that's why people can't get any work-life balance and they can't scale because they're
Right.
always in this reactive mode. So the point is we know what's coming. We know we've done this enough time. It's the same thing every single transaction. You just have to systemize what the transactions look like from start to finish, from the time you meet the person till the time they're done and beyond, and then communicate. Because part of what happens is that a lot of these agents, they have assumptions or expectations that they never communicate to their clients, and the clients do too. So because they're unstated, the chaos comes and the putting out fires and the friction and all that comes when those expectations, let's say your client expectations, don't match up with reality. So they're calling you at 9 o'clock at night. You don't want to pick up, and then they're mad because you weren't available. All of that could have been avoided completely by setting expectations up front.
Right.
Same thing whether it's inspections or what happens with appraisal or how we're going to look at houses or how we're going to go about finding your house or whatever it is. You're not glued to your phone. You're not texting and calling and emailing and doing appointments at 5 o'clock on Sunday afternoon.
Give me your top couple efficiencies that you've implemented that has made it easier for you and your team.
So some of it is how you speak to people, like making appointments. When people call in and they want you to come look at their house to list it, a lot of agents just do this open-ended. Well, what have you got going next week? What works for you next week? And that leaves it open to, well, I've got Sunday at 3. Let's
Yeah.
do Sunday at 3. It's like, oh my gosh, that's right in the middle of your family time. But you're not going to say that
Yep.
because then you don't look, you're afraid you're going to lose a listing. So rather than doing that, some of it is just in, okay, I've got Tuesday morning before noon, or I've got Friday afternoon, between 1 and 4. Which one of
Mhm.
those work best for you?
Yep.
9 times out of 10, people will choose one of those, or you'll come close, and you're not going to end up doing it on Sunday afternoon in the middle of your family time. So a lot of it is just how you speak to people and how you put some boundaries and parameters around it. And then a lot of times, it's just simple things like we have programmed what we call bombs. They're like video email that
Familiar?
go out to people automated at certain times at certain points in the transaction. Instead of taking 40 calls every 6 months on, hey, I got my title work and this stuff is so confusing. I have no idea what it says, and me sitting down and talking with them through it for 20 minutes. I send the video out and I never get the call.
Yeah. Proactive educational communication
Yeah.
that gets ahead of it where they don't have to, hey, what about this? What about this? Like, oh, you already sent it to them proactively. I like it.
That's part of the automation component of the expectation selling. So we have the online training, but then we've got an automation thing that if people just want to like, oh yeah, I want to just implement this, but I don't want to recreate the wheel. It gives them the scripts for the videos, the forms, any kind of thing that they might need to kind of implement the efficiencies.
I'm going to go with this. We have a rapid fire section. What is your superpower in real estate?
Good communication,
What is your favorite part of the home buying process?
complicated problem solving,
What is your biggest real estate ick?
showing property in bad weather. Otherwise, I like pretty much everything about real estate.
What's a trend in real estate that people are overhyping right now?
Everybody's reaching for these things to overcome what's going on in the market with high interest rates and buyers sitting on the sidelines and whatever. I think there's a lot of people just trying to come up with everything. And it's just like some of it is just the market normalizing. There's only so much that you can do to get buyers off their sofa until they're really comfortable with how things are going to be. unknown paralyzes people.
I think it's a really good point. I mean, and because you always hear people like figure out another way to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, at a certain point, you might just be annoying people with trying to bring up things that just they're going to buy when they're ready, right? And we know that when rates lower, people come more to the market, and so is it worth constantly trying to innovate and come up with new ideas when it's just not something you're more going to bug people.
I mean, I can come up with 50 tricks. It's not going to get them off the sofa until they're ready and they feel comfortable and confident. So maybe it's just communicating what's going on in the market so they can identify when, okay, yeah, this does feel safer now.
It's hard to overcome industries and markets. When you're in a really, really hard market, loan officers aren't going to have refis and 8% interest rates. It's not going to happen no matter what you do. So, you kind of, there's something there to the point where kind of it's okay to give up in a sense or move on to other things. What's your gut check test for a great deal in real estate?
It's not even about price as much as it is about location to me.
Mhm.
It's like I look for things that are in the right location and will pencil reasonably. So I'm not always looking for the deal. Sometimes I pay asking price, but I feel like it's got long term. I've got clients who approach it completely different from
Yeah.
me. But I'm kind of in it for the long haul. I want the property appreciation. I want cash flow. So it's like, okay, I'm looking at cash flow, location, and whatever it ends up being, my kids will deal with it after I die.
I noticed you spoke a lot about trust and creating trust. What is your recommendation? Is that something that is an innate, that is just naturally people trust you because the way you are? Is there a process to trust? Tell me more about creating trust with clients and how you think about it.
I'm very careful about how I create that because I do think there is an art to it. And I think it has to do with listening skills, asking questions, literally being on their agenda, not your own agenda. People can smell it when you're the kind that's going out for the quick kill or you need to pay your mortgage and you need them to close next month. They smell it and they run.
Yeah.
So I think it's genuinely being in that place where you can be about them, but then being very strategic with your questioning and helping them figure it out. Like a lot of times I'll have a husband and wife, let's say, they think they're on the same page, but I can tell from my first interview with them, they're not on the same page.
Right.
So I have certain ways that I go about getting them on the same page. It helps that my husband's a marriage and family therapist because I've
Yeah.
learned a
Very
lot
helpful.
from osmosis. That's part of what we teach in that expectation selling, that if you ask the right questions, you can get to the heart of what it is that they need and where they really want to go without wasting a bunch of their time and your time with all these unstated things. I mean, most agents have taken people out, shown them houses, 20 houses, and then they realize that, okay, it's really not about the house. The reason they haven't chosen the house is because the husband and wife has some kind of power or control dynamic that is keeping them from making that decision.
So this is a tourism ad for Mesa County. Give us like the top things to do in Mesa.
It is endless. Okay, so there's anything on the Colorado River. There is snow skiing 45 minutes away, world class mountain bike riding, world class rock climbing 45 minutes away. It is wine country. There are, I can't even remember, there's like 40 some wineries here. You wouldn't think so, but it's very agricultural wines and peaches.
I mean, I feel like Mesa's tourism board owes you some money right here. That sounds like a fun place to go. What is the ski mountain 45 minutes away?
Powderhorn Ski Resort. Yeah, so we have several. We have Sunlight up in Glenwood Springs on the way to Aspen. Aspen's a couple hours away. It's an amazing place to live, and yes, it's very. There's a lot of tourism here, rightly so.
Well, look, Jan, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on here. I love your story. I love the medical to real estate. I look, I feel like I trust you. I mean, just met, but I mean, like you have a trustful, innate vibe that has obviously been very helpful in your career. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate that. That's important to me. Just so you know, if you're podcast listeners, Dave and Mason and I, we've gone in and kind of identified what we feel like are the three biggest time sucks for agents and have solved those. If your podcast listeners want to go to expectationselling.com/discount, they can get those. I think there's a discount, it's like $30. They can get the solution for the three biggest agent time wasters, and that'll give them a taste of what we're really about.
Well, hey, thank you for everything. And when I make my visit back there with my kids and my dad, we'll stop by to say hi.
Yeah. 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 You call me. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.